Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Italia Pass Ready for Rome orientation webinar. My name is Shelley Ruel, and I am the community manager for Italia Pass. And I'm joined today by my colleague Sofia Baragaglia, and she's the Italia Pass Italy Experience Specialist. So we'll be spending some time with you today getting you ready for your trip to Rome. And just before we get started, I wanted to go quickly over what is Italia Pass because many of you are probably here because you purchased a rail ticket with Italia Rail. And so it's a family of brands. There's Italia Rail, Tours, Drive, Hotels, and has been working with millions of tourists who visited Italy since 1987. And our CEO came up with Italia Pass because he wanted to help his clients have the best trip to Italy ever. And this was the way to do it. What Italia Pass actually is it's a membership benefits program. It costs $149 and it brings you $650+ in value for your Italy trip. And so the reason I wanted to give you a little context is because we will be mentioning the Italia Pass membership throughout this presentation just to highlight some of the things that might be convenient for you. So if that's something you're interested in, that will give you some more information about what the membership program actually is. But we also do have a community, and that's what I'm the manager of. It's a completely free community online where you can get all of your travel questions answered. So that's also part of the brand. So today, what will we be covering in this presentation? We'll be going through a few things that you see in this bullet point list. The first thing we'll talk about is arriving at FCO, which is the code for Fiumicino Airport, and how to get into the city. The airport is also known as Leonardo da Vinci, and it's about a half an hour outside of Rome. We'll be talking about our Italia Pass Lounge that you might be interested in. That's at Rome's main train station, Termini. I'll be telling you about how to get around on public transport here in the city, as well as some info about restaurants and how to avoid tourist traps. You'll also hear about how you can get free access and tours of some of the biggest monuments, and how you can also get $100 off of an Italia Tours experience. I'll finish up with a couple of local tips, and then we'll open it for a live Q&A for 15 minutes at the end. That will be in a chat format, so there's an icon that has Q&A on it. If you click that icon, you can type your question at any time, and we will cover 15 minutes of those questions at the end. And if we don't get to your question live, we will also be publishing all the answers to all the questions that are asked on the community, and you'll get a link to that after we finish our presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Sophia to talk to you about how to get into the city from the airport.
Thank you, Shelley, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, we can get started, of course, from the arrival at FCO. FCO is the main airport, as Shelley mentioned, in Rome, and from there you'll have a few options to get to the center of Rome. As you see on the slide, they're all indicated in the terminal, so it's very easy to navigate. The first option you'll have is to reach Roma Termini, which is the main train station in Rome, by train. There are two types of trains that travel there. The first one is called Leonardo Express, which is a direct train to Termini. It costs around $16 on Italia Rail, and it's, I would say, the main option by train. Usually it's the more popular one anyway. Or there's a second train. It's called the regional train. It's very similar to the Leonardo Express, but it travels to smaller stations in Rome, namely Trastevere and Ostiense. It's $10 on Italia Rail. Both types of trains are considered regional trains, so it really depends. I would say depends on which part of the city you're trying to reach. One might work better than the other. And either way, they will get you into the heart of Rome. So again, it would depend on where you're trying to go. We generally get a lot of questions of whether or not you should book the tickets for these trains in advance. And I would generally recommend, yes, booking them in advance, especially if you're going to travel during high season. High season would be just about now. It's usually between May to early October-ish. And during this period, the queues can get very long. The servers can get a bit overwhelmed. So I would just make sure that you secure a space at the best departure time before you arrive at the airport. However, do be careful, especially with Leonardo Express tickets, as they are time specific. So it's important to calculate exactly when you will be arriving at the station. That being said, I would recommend that time be at least an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours after your scheduled arrival or your scheduled landing with your plane. And definitely do not book any tickets leaving from Roma Termini to another city, for example, I don't know, Naples, Florence. If you're planning to travel to another city directly, definitely wait at least 3 hours after your scheduled arrival time, just in case of delays, luggage issues, any other unforeseen events that could set you back. It's just I find it's best to have a bit more time than having to rush through the airport and figuring out how the train station works. Especially Termini is quite a big station, so you'll want a bit of time, not a huge lot, but maybe 20 minutes to be there in advance and figure out where everything is. It's very easy to navigate, but since it's a big place, you might want that extra bit of time just for your convenience. And that's it for trains. There are also taxis that you can take outside the airport terminal. They have a fixed rate of 55 euros. Or other options include taking a shuttle bus, booking a private transfer with us. Our private transfers can take you anywhere in the city to your accommodations in Rome or even to Roma Termini if you're trying to, again, travel to another place. And they're bookable on the Italia Tours website. Or if you want to reach out to an Needle experience specialist, such as myself, we would be happy to book you as well. Next, should I rent a car? Okay, this is a question that comes up a lot. And I would say there's no universal answer, but I will try to give you some tips depending on what type of itinerary you will be having while in Italy. I would say the main, breaking point, so to speak, on how to make a decision, the deal breaker, that's what the word I'm looking for, would be if you know that you're going to be exploring some more remote areas in Italy. So let's say, for example, Tuscany or the Amalfi Coast, very popular destinations, definitely recommended. However, they're fairly remote, they're outside the main cities. And in these cases, I would recommend renting a car. It's a great option, but mostly because it allows you to explore, the area more freely, and also because public transport can be less reliable once you're outside of the main cities. So in this case, perfect. Definitely rent a car. However, if you're only going to be visiting major cities, let's say Florence, Venice, Rome, Milan, the usual, I would not rent a car. First of all, because the best way to navigate in between cities is usually by train. There's a high-speed network that connects most of them. And also, most of these cities do have very, very strict car rules when it comes to traffic. So it can be tricky to get a permit to enter, find parking, and just operating a car within. It's usually the city walls for the city centers. It's just not the best experience that you could have. So if you're planning on staying within those centers, I would just recommend using, the local transport and the trains to get around from city to city. Regardless, if you do decide to rent a car, you can do so on our platform, Italia Drive. And as a member, you would benefit from a $10 discount as an Italia Pass member, which you can redeem after booking with us. Next up, we have the lounge. Another perk of being a member is access to our Italia Pass lounge, which is located in the Roma Termini station. That's the station I mentioned earlier, the main one in Rome. And this is a great place to hang out, essentially, if you have some free time before boarding a train or if you're waiting for your hotel check-in time. We're always happy to welcome you. We have free Wi-Fi, some refreshments, espresso. We offer free luggage storage as well for both carry-ons or larger bags. You can drop them off and retrieve them anytime as long as it's within the opening hours. And of course, we do require a reservation just to know that you will be coming, essentially. We have some lounge hosts, our lovely hosts that will be ready to welcome you, as well as answer any questions that you might have about your trip. So all we need to know is that you will be arriving on a certain day at a certain time. And once you have your complimentary visit booked, you're all good to go. And now I'll hand it over to Shelley for some information on public transport within the city.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about getting around Rome if you're going to use public transport. Now, Rome is a very walkable city, and because we're getting towards the end of the summer, the heat is becoming a little bit more tolerable. So you can walk quite easily. However, it can be convenient to take public transport at times. So if that's something that you might use, let's go over a couple of tips and pointers so that once you are here, you'll feel like you already know how it works. So the way that our system here is made up, ATAC is the company name. That's the name you'll see on the buses. It has buses, a large network of buses. It has a subway or underground. It's known as the metro, and that's short for Metropolitana, kind of like in Paris. It's super easy to navigate because we only have two lines here in Rome. There, A and B. There is a C line, but you're not going to use it in the center. And they only cross at one point. They only intersect at Rome Termini train station, the one that Sophia was just talking about. So that makes it very, very simple to navigate. You don't need to worry about zones of the city. You don't need to worry about multiple trains. There's A and B, and it's simple as that. And there's a couple of trams as well. The only one that you might run into in terms of a tram in the center is going to be tram 8, and that one is down by Piazza Venezia. Otherwise, you probably won't ride the trams. So we're mostly talking about buses and subway here. Tickets are very reasonably priced compared to other large European cities. They cost €1.50, and they are time limited tickets. So the way that they work is once you begin your journey, that's considered the start of your time, and you get 100 minutes of unlimited travel time on any public transport method for those 100 minutes. So that's your ticket is valid for that many minutes. There's one exception, and that is you only get one subway ride within those 100 minutes. So what that means is at any time in those 100 minutes, you can enter the subway station, take the subway, transfer from A to B, et cetera, get where you need to go. Once you exit that subway station, your ticket is still good if it still has more minutes on it within that 100-minute time span. However, you will not be able to re-enter the subway and use that same ticket. So that's the only exception there. How do I get my ticket? So real easy. Luckily, especially with the Jubilee year, there have been a lot of upgrades to our public transport system. And one of the most noticeable ones is that we pretty much have tap and go ticket systems on all the methods of public transport, including the buses now. It's been that way in the metro for a while. So when you enter the metro, you can tap using your contactless payment method. So whether you have Apple Pay or a contactless payment method on your smartphone, you can use that. Or you can use your card that has a contactless chip. You just tap the reader at the turnstile, it beeps, you go through. The only thing to be aware of is it only will take one payment method per rider. So for example, in New York City, you can tap and go for multiple riders. In Rome, you can't. You get one tap per payment system. So if you have multiple riders, you're going to need a different card payment for each of them. And if you don't have that, you can also use paper tickets. The paper tickets are known as biglietto, if you want to try out your Italian. And you can buy those at machines in the metro station. And then if you're out and about in the city, you will not generally find ticket machines at bus stops. So you're going to want to purchase paper tickets at a tabaccheria, which is a tobacconist shop. And those are very easy to find and locate because they have a T, a sign with a T over the door. Or you can purchase those at newsstands, which are very prevalent throughout the city. So if you think you're going to be using public transport, it could be a good idea just to buy 2 tickets per person in your traveling party because that will get you there and back wherever you want to go. Last but not least, I did want to point out one particular bus route that's very helpful for visitors to the city. So bus 64 crosses all the way from that main train station we told you about, Termini, all the way across the historic center over to the Vatican. So it's really convenient. It will pretty much get you to most of the main tourist points. So you can look out for that bus route. However, I do want to give you one caveat, which is because it's so famous for and convenient for visitors, it can also be a bit of a magnet for pickpockets. Now, just a little bit about pickpocketing. Don't worry about all the hype you might have seen on social media, or kind of the alarmist on social media about, oh, you're going to get pickpocketed in Rome. I've lived here for 24 years, and knock on wood, I have never been pickpocketed, not even once. And I think that that can be the same for you if you just are really aware of your surroundings, like you would in any big metropolitan city. So what does that mean? That means when you're in on this bus, for example, if it's very crowded, or in any crowded area where there might be people jostling, right? So pickpockets capitalize when there's people that might bump into you because you won't necessarily feel if they're trying to like get into your purse. So whenever I'm around the city, I always take my purse strap and I put it across my body so that I can have my hand on my purse, and I have my purse like in front of me. Wallets, if you have a wallet, don't keep it in your back pocket, put it like in your front pocket, keep your hand on it if you're feeling like you're being squished in a crowd. It's just basic common sense about being aware, because as you see in this photo, the buses go right by the Colosseum. Tourists might get distracted, and that's a perfect time for a pickpocket to ply their trade. And I don't want that to happen to you. And I'm pretty sure that it won't if you're aware of your surroundings and look like you know where you're going. And there's plenty of other easy tourist targets for them to go towards. So don't let that scare you. Rome is a very safe city, just that petty crime can be an issue in some of these really crowded touristy areas. So let's get on to something really fun that I hope you're going to love, all the delicious food you're going to try here in Rome. Let's talk just a second about restaurants. So the eating times, the dining times might be a little bit later than you're used to. In Rome, we tend to eat lunch anywhere between 1 and 1:30 is kind of a start time for lunch, and dinner 8 to 8:30 is a start time. And the reason I tell you that is because although there's a lot of restaurants in the touristy areas that run all day long, the more local Roman restaurants might tend towards these hours only. So just be aware that if you're hungry at 5, you're used to eating dinner at 5 or 6 p.m. The really local Roman places, they don't serve dinner at that time. So you might have, what I'll tell you about in a few slides coming is an aperitivo, which is a pre-dinner snack. And so that can help tie you over till the dinner time. The reason I have check on this bullet list here, check is called il conto. If you want to practice your Italian and ask for the check, you can say il conto, per favore. But the reason I put check here is because something that a lot of visitors have asked me about is how come they're not bringing us our check? We've been waiting for a long time. And the reason is it's cultural. Here in Rome, they will 9 times out of 10 not bring you your check until you ask for it. And the reason for that is cultural, because when Italians go out to dinner with their family and friends, it's understood that that's quality time with your loved ones. So they don't want you to feel rushed. They don't want you to feel like they're pushing you out or turning tables. So unless you're in a place that specifically told you when you came in, we're turning this table in an hour and a half, which can happen in some of the super popular restaurants, generally speaking, you have that table for as long as you want. It's very, very rare to be asked to turn the table. So they're going to take it from you, the cue of when you want your check. So you'll have to ask for it. Don't think it's bad service or they're neglecting you. They're actually trying to be courteous to you. And tipping, of course, is a big question that we get. Do I need to leave a tip? No. The simple answer is no. You do not need to leave a tip in restaurants. Wait staff here make a living wage. They're on a salary. They do not work for tips. So if you feel like you got really exemplary service and you want to be courteous, maybe €1 per person at the table could be a general guideline, but pretty much all the locals that I know, they don't leave tips at restaurants. It's just not in the culture. Same goes for taxis. People have asked me about that as well. With taxis, you can round up. If you're paying in cash, you can round up to the next euro. That kind of helps so the taxi driver doesn't have to make small change. But in cabs nowadays, you can also pay with a card, so that's not really an issue anymore. Let's talk about gelato. I know you're going to want to try the gelato here. It's delicious, and you'll have lots of choices and lots of flavors. 2 tips to watch out for. If you're in a gelato shop and you see the gelato like mountainously coming over the top of the tubs like you see in that photo, that's a tip off that it's not necessarily the most authentic gelato shop, because what those types of places do is they'll whip a lot of air into the gelato, make it really fluffy and big because it looks kind of showy. but really authentic gelato almost never goes over the top of the tub. And sometimes you'll even see places where there's lids, there's metal lids on top, and you won't even see the gelato, and that's super authentic as well. You'll just have a menu of flavors to choose from. So avoid that if you're looking for something super authentic. And overly bright colors is a tip off that they're using artificial colors, which is not an authentic thing. That the gelatai would not put artificial colors into their gelato, so it'd be more of a pale color if it's a fruit flavor, that type of thing, because they're using real fruit. And also something to know is that you order by the number of flavors that you want or the number of scoops, let's say, even though they're not like little round scoops, but sometimes people aren't aware that it usually starts with 2 flavors and goes up 2, 3, or 4. Because a lot of times in other places you might just get 1 flavor for the price, but you'll get it in a cone or a cup, and generally it starts with two flavors. Restaurants here, the tourist trap type of things I want to let you know about the restaurants is if you see pictures on the menu, that's a general tip off that it's a very touristy oriented place, because obviously Romans don't need photos. They know what their food looks like. So that's kind of a sure sign that they're catering to a foreigner crowd and not locals. And if you see people out front trying to get people to come in, which I kind of call promoters, that's also geared towards visitors. It doesn't mean you're going to get a bad meal necessarily, but it's definitely not going to be the most authentic Roman dish that you could possibly have. So I'm going to provide you with a list of references and things that we talked about in this webinar. I'll email it to you. And in that list, I'll share a couple of my favorite restaurants with you, local places that I really like. I'm going to pass it back to Sophia now to talk to you a little bit about how to get into the sites and how you can save and even get in free.
Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, so of course you'll be in Rome. There's plenty to see. So let me give you a few ideas and get into some of the just some of the exciting sites that you can get to while staying in Rome, especially as an ItaliaPass member. So starting off strong, ItaliaPass members get 1 free tour of the Colosseum, featuring exclusive access to the arena floor through the iconic Gladiators Gate. This tour also includes the Roman Forum and um, the whole area essentially around the Colosseum. Again, this is free for our members. It's a fully guided tour, so definitely make sure to take advantage of it if you're in the city. And this is a more recent benefit that we have. Our members also get complimentary access to Rome's Pantheon. The Pantheon is a bit less crowded, I would say, on average. It depends on the day, but it's not as crowded as the Colosseum usually. And I find that not a lot of people are as interested in it as they are in the Colosseum, which is completely fair, but I would still really recommend a visit because it's absolutely worth it. It's one of my favorite places in Rome. And again, it's free. So we have 2 slots usually. There's one in the morning that you can book, or one in the afternoon from 12 to 6. You can go anytime within that time span. So again, if you're in the area, definitely make sure to pay the visit. We also offer other guided tours, of course. Some of our main ones are guided tours of the Vatican, as well as walking tours of the city. Usually the walking tours include areas like Piazza Navona, the Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain, of course. So if you want to see the heart of Rome while walking, that's a perfect option. We also have something called the Rome Tour Pass, which is it's a tour bundle. I would recommend looking into it if you have at least 2 days to spend in Rome, as it includes everything that I've just mentioned. So Colosseum, Vatican, and walking tours. And it's usually a recommended bundle if you want to see the Roman highlights essentially essentially in one reservation. Regardless of which tours you decide to go for, know that our members get $100 off on their first tour order and 10% off of any subsequent tours. So again, definitely take a look at that. All of these tours are bookable on italiatours.com. If you have any questions, of course, you can always email us, or if you need any help booking, we can also do that for you. The only thing that I would recommend is booking as far in advance as you can. I would say as soon as you know which dates you're going to be in Rome, definitely try to get, especially the Colosseum and the Vatican, they sell out incredibly fast. And the space is fairly limited for the tickets, so last minute reservations can be an issue. So booking a few weeks in advance is fine. If you have a few months of time, that's even better, of course. We can ensure availability that way. But just yeah, make sure you have at least a few weeks. Last but not least, we often get questions about the dress code while visiting these places. And I would say the general rule of thumb is that if you'd like to visit the Vatican or any other main basilicas, duomos, even smaller churches, you will need to wear clothes that will cover your shoulders and your knees. This is especially true for the Vatican, but I would say it's a rule that's fairly enforced in most of the churches in Rome and in the rest of Italy. But that's about it for the dress code, and it's only for churches. So, for example, if you're going to the Colosseum, my only recommendation is wear something that's comfortable. It's a big place. There's lots of walking to do, so whatever feels best is probably the best idea for you. Something else that can be important to mention is most of these attractions do not allow for big bags or large backpacks or strollers. Especially the Vatican and the Colosseum, for sure, they will not allow them in. So definitely make sure that you have something smaller, like a crossbody bag, or again, just a smaller bag that can fit and be more convenient in the situation. And next, we have something that we wanted to mention. This is a special offer for our members. It's free access to a special Vatican City edition of Italy Magazine. Italy Magazine is our all things Italy magazine, as the name suggests. It's one of our partner brands, and it's included for it's included in the membership for our members. So this one specific edition is a special one because it's focused on giving insider tips into visiting iconic landmarks within the Vatican during this year specifically. It's a very special year. It's the Jubilee. So we decided to craft this issue specifically to, again, give some tips on the highlights. And it can be a guide for first-time visitors, as well as anyone who's already been to the Vatican. If you need a refresher on the highlights of the Holy See, that's the go-to, I would say. So to get access, all you have to do is fill out a brief survey, and you can find all the information in the community. And now back to Shelley for some local tips.
Thank you. So I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of my favorite local tips that I always tell people that are visiting. So the first one is that a lot of people do not know about, especially if they've never visited Rome. You see this photo on the upper right. Those are called nasoni. It means big noses because of the way the spigot is. These are public water fountains. There's thousands of them. They are distributed all through the city of Rome. As you see in the photo, the water runs continuously, so you don't need to turn it on or off. It's always pouring out. It comes from a deep underground spring. It comes out really cold. So it is literally the perfect way to refill a reusable water bottle. You can avoid buying plastic, avoid getting ripped off of people trying to take advantage of tourists and charge like €5 for a little mini water bottle. No, you're going to be local. You're going to use these water fountains. I'm even going to provide you with a link to a smartphone app that the local water utility provides. If you feel like it, you can download it on your phone, and it has a map of all the Nasoni in the center in Rome. So you can even plan out where is the nearest one. Super ultra local tip, if you don't have a reusable plastic water bottle or you just want to try this, if you plug the bottom of that spigot where the water's coming out, it creates a back pressure, and you don't see it in this photo, but there's a tiny little hole on the top. When you create that back pressure, the water will shoot out of the hole. It's a small one, so a little stream of water will come out, and you can bend down and drink like a regular drinking fountain. I always just tell people, just be sure that you don't hit any passersby with that water, because there's a lot of pressure and it will shoot pretty far. So it could be refreshing on a hot day for whoever's walking by, but you don't want to, hit somebody with the water. But yeah, so the Nazzoni are definitely, you want to use those when you're walking around downtown. Secondly, as I mentioned previously in the presentation, have an aperitivo. An aperitivo you may know about. It's iconic. That drink you see in the photos called an Aperol Spritz. This is a cultural tradition. It's a before dinner drink and snack. It's generally around 6 p.m., 6:30. It does not have to be a drink with alcohol in it. It can also be just simply getting a Coca-Cola or a lemon soda or a Sprite or whatever. There are a couple actually non-alcoholic aperitivo drinks, like Crodino is kind of a famous one here in Rome. It's kind of a bitter, these are kind of bitter tasting drinks. It's kind of just a unique Italian tradition. And the photo that I have here is at Meccanismo. It's just one of my favorite places because they give such an abundant board of snacks. You don't get to choose, they just kind of bring it out, but it's like 13 euros per person, which is quite reasonable for what you get. But you can also just have an informal aperitivo. You can roll up to any coffee bar around 6, the general time is 6 p.m. Doesn't have to be that strict, but whenever you feel like doing the aperitivo, or even before lunch, Italians will do an aperitivo before lunch sometimes too, like say around noon. And you could even just get like a glass of Prosecco at a coffee bar, and they'll sometimes like give you a little bowl of potato chips or peanuts. So it's fun. It's a social tradition. It's something fun that you can try that the locals do here. So that wraps up the info part of our webinar. And like I mentioned, since you registered, I have your email address. And after this presentation, within the next 24 hours, check your inbox, because I'm going to send you an email that's going to have links to some of the resources that I've talked about and that Sophia has talked about in this presentation. I'm going to have a recap of the Q&A that we're about to host. So that's all written down. All the answers we're about to provide are going to be written down for you to refer back to. And there will also be a link to a recording of this webinar, which we publish on our YouTube channel. In case we went too fast, you want to review, you want to look at it again, you will have that link as well on the ItaliaPass YouTube channel. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop share. And we are here to answer any and all questions that you have about visiting Rome. I see that we've already got 9 lined up. Amazing. So we're going to kind of just go back and forth and take questions that fall into our wheelhouses. I being the one who actually lives locally here in Rome, and Sophia being from Italy and working more on the customer traveler service side of the business, can answer those questions. So let's see. Pam is asking, does the taxi take you to limited locations? So by limited locations, I'm imagining what you mean is it like restricted to specific places that it can take you? No, the taxi will take you wherever you need to go. Granted, we're imagining you're probably going to want to go within the Rome city limits-ish. If you're thinking that like, for example, if you need to go from Rome to Civitavecchia to get a cruise, taxis, if you found a taxi that would take you, I'm sure they'd be happy to drive because it'd probably be a lot of money, but it's better to get a private driver for that kind of a thing. If you have a lot of luggage, that's typically what cruise passengers will do, is they'll get a transfer. And Sophia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Italia Tours has a Civitavecchia Rome transfer. That's the only
Yes, we
one I
do.
can think of that would be like out of, the span of where a taxi would normally drive. But otherwise, yeah, you just give the cab driver your address, your hotel, and they will take you there. Make sure they turn on the meter. The cabs have gotten better over the last, recent years. We have Uber too. If you feel more comfortable, like having your driver that's, on the app and has ratings and whatever, Uber's also available.
I can take the next 2.
Okay.
Do I need any specific document to go to the lounge, and how do I book it? So there's no specific document that's needed to access the lounge. There are 2 things, however, which you may want to keep on hand. Them being either your train tickets if you're traveling that day. The lounge is past security checkpoints, so they may stop you and ask for tickets. So if you have the tickets, that's fine. Just show them the QR code and it should be okay. However, if you're not traveling that day, if you don't have tickets for that specific area, it's completely fine. However, they will still ask you for some sort of proof of where you need to go. That will be your confirmation voucher. So once you book the lounge, you'll receive a PDF via email, or just the email itself. Feel free to print it or save it on your phone. At the very, I believe it's at the very bottom of the confirmation, there's an area that says, oh, this is a permission to go through the checkpoint essentially, and you can show that to the guards and they will let you through. As on how to book it, most of our welcome emails have links to book the lounge directly. I believe there's a few that get sent out periodically with other offers as well. So either one of our ItaliaPass emails, or if it's easier for you, you can also reach out to support with your dates and time, or asking directly for the link, and we'll be happy to provide it for you.
I can take the next two because they're about public transport. So Pam is asking, do I need to purchase tickets for Tap and Go or just tap any card with Tap and Go capability? Yeah, so Tap and Go means just like it says, you tap your payment method, like your contactless Visa or MasterCard, whatever, and you go. And so the card, your payment card counts as your ticket, essentially. There aren't going to be inspectors on the metro because you have to pass through a turnstile in order to enter. So they know that you've paid. And so inspectors don't check tickets on the metro. However, the buses is a little different. In Rome, you will not have contact with your bus driver. The bus drivers do not check tickets, and you do not have to show your driver anything when you get on the bus. You just board the bus. It's almost like an honor system. And so inspectors do periodically check passengers' tickets on the buses. And if that were to happen to you and an inspector approached you, all you would have to do is show them your payment that you used, the card that you used, or on your smartphone, because that they have their, little handheld or whatever, and they'll check and it will show that you paid and it will show when you paid. So yeah, it's very easy. And then the second question that related here is Paul is asking, is the Roma 72-hour pass worth it for ATAC? So in the resources list I'm going to send out, I actually listed out because ATAC offers 24, 48, and 72-hour passes, the unlimited rides. It really depends how much you're going to be using public transport. And so I worked out how many rides you would need to do in order for it to be worthwhile rather than purchasing individual tickets. So it's hard to say unless you already know how much you're going to be using the system. But like if you are a good walker and you don't mind walking, I mean, you can get to a lot of these places 15, 20-ish minute walks from point to point. Usually the historic center's not ginormous like in some other large European cities. So it's really going to depend. It's really going to depend on your preferences and your mobility. But I will have that info for you in the resources list.
The next one, celebrating my 73rd birthday and want to have a special dinner. We are staying at the Hilton Garden in Claridge. Is there a restaurant in that area you would recommend? Uh, I'm not sure actually. Do you have anything in mind, Shelley?
Usually when we get questions like this in the Q&A, what I really like to do is after we're done with the live portion, what I'll do is I'll go and do a little bit of, this is kind of how I answer questions when people come to the ItaliaPass community. So it gives me a little extra time to go research. So I will go research. I'll look around the vicinity of the hotel that you're mentioning, and I'll kind of do a little bit of, seeing what I can see, and maybe I can come up with a couple of suggestions for you there. And happy early birthday. We say tanti auguri here. So, although Italians are a little superstitious, they wouldn't like me telling you happy birthday in advance, right? That's okay. I can get away with it because I'm not Italian. I only act like it. I've lived here a while. What's next? I'll let you take this one. This is about the ItaliaPass membership.
Absolutely. How long is the Italia Pass good for? Is it a yearly pass? Yes. It lasts the full year. You can use it for several trips within that year. Of course, it depends. It's usually, but most of our members do just one trip per year. And if they do decide, we have a few members that have decided to, just renew their membership because they travel yearly, or they have some friends that they want to bring next time, that type of thing. So of course, renewing the membership also renews the benefits, but it is valid for the whole year. So especially for trains, and we do seasonal events sometimes. So that's it's usually a good idea to keep an eye on it if you plan on traveling more than once within that year. I can take the next one too. How do we get the free entrance to the Colosseum? That is also in the welcome emails, and this is actually very important. There's two items. The free Colosseum tour cannot be booked directly on italiatours.com. It's one of the few items that are, since it's a member exclusive benefit, we do not have it online for everybody to see. It's only accessible through the emails, or again, if you cannot find the link in the Italia Pass emails, feel free to reach out to us. Because so what happens sometimes is our members will book the tour that's on our website, which has the same name, but that will not allow you to use your member ID to get it for free. So I would say, yeah, the best way is either using the direct link or reaching out to us to either place the reservation directly or provide the link itself.
So, Paul, this is a good question. Are there areas in Rome to avoid? So, yeah, like I said, Rome is a pretty safe city. I mean, we're lucky in that sense. And I honestly, I don't know that in the places that you as a visitor are going to see, which is generally like the center, I really cannot think of a place that I would say to, my best friend coming to visit, stay away from there. I mean, like any large city, train stations can get a little sketchy at late at night. It's not like but, that being said, I often will be out, moving around the city if I'm going out to dinner or whatever as a woman on my own, and I don't feel, in danger or threatened or whatever. I just it's a safe place generally, but take all the precautions that you would normally in any large metropolitan area. Any places in Rome that would be quote unquote kind of to avoid are way on the outskirts. They're way on the outskirts of the city, and you're not gonna encounter those places. So I feel pretty confident telling you that.
I can take this one from Yvette. What is the average price of a private transfer from the airport to Trastevere for four people? So for four people, you would need a minivan. We usually have two types of vehicles. One is a sedan, one is a minivan. The sedan can only host up to two passengers, whereas the minivan can go up to seven. So for four people, one minivan, I believe from FCO to anywhere within the city of Rome in the city center is $115. There's usually a fee if you're traveling late at night or very early in the morning, but it's usually we're talking about like after 11 p.m. or before 6, 5 a.m. And it's usually about 20% that gets added, or normally, yeah, it's 115.
Okay, Ella says, thank you both for all this information. You're so welcome. We're really happy that you joined us. Thank you. Spencer asks, I'm 24 and I'm interested in renting a car. Is there any added difficulty for younger people trying to rent? That's a great question. And because I live here, I don't actually know. You might have some more info on that. Have you encountered clients that have rented cars?
It's never happened with clients, but I have tried renting a car myself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I remember, I think it depends on your years of experience with driving. And for Italians, they can be a bit, reticent to rent out cars if you're under 25. That being said, it's not always the case. Sometimes they ask you for a larger deposit, or they might ask for, additional documents. One that's sometimes asked is an international driving permit, which may not get asked of older drivers. So it's possible. It just, yeah, it can get a bit tricky, but it's usually not an issue.
So this is a good follow-up from Paul. Is it easy to rent a car for a day in Florence? Now, Sophia, you tell me if you agree with me on this or not, but I would not recommend renting a car for a day in Florence. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. Your train, if you take a train, you're going to get there way faster than driving. Like driving a car from, I'm assuming you're meaning from Rome. Driving a car from Rome to Florence, I think is like 3+ hours. I would have to look it up, but it's longer than the train. The high-speed train gets you there in like an hour and a half. Florence is small-ish. You probably won't even ride public transport that much. You're going to walk around for a day trip. and I would not, I mean, I'm local and I would not drive to Florence. I would not take a car into Florence. I would not waste my time on the Italian freeways. Like, oh, no, go on the train. It's going to be so much more relaxing. Um, but if, it's like Sophia said in that slide, the rental cars in Tuscany are almost essential if you're going to be like at a farm stay or out in the countryside. If you're just doing one day in Florence, my best advice would be just take the high-speed train back and forth to Rome. It makes more sense because you're gonna have to pay for parking in Florence too. And so you're gonna be shelling out a lot more money probably in the long run, and it's probably gonna be more stressful. But those are kind of things, that's a great question because those are the kind of things that you wouldn't know unless you lived here or had been here before. So it was a really good question. All right, so I'm going to make this the last one because we're at our 15 minutes, but do not worry if you typed a question in and we did not get to it. I'm going to do these offline. I will answer them offline and you'll get a link to the answers in your email. They'll be posted on the ItaliaPass community. So don't worry, we'll get to them all. As long as you've typed it and put it in the queue, Zoom saves them all for me. So don't worry, we'll get to them eventually offline. So I'll let you take this one, last one here.
So Brian is asking, is there luxury transportation services at the Rome airport that are ready to take people to their hotels upon arrival, that don't need to be scheduled in advance? I'm not sure. The only thing that I could think of is perhaps depending on the hotel. I know there's some luxury hotels that provide direct shuttles from FCO, but apart from those, I would say generally speaking, no. Definitely not with ItaliaPass, just because we have very specific selected drivers and providers that work with us. Since we want to ensure that the service is high to the standard that we want for our members. So we do require the booking to be made in advance. Even just a few days is usually fine, unless it's a super busy week, let's say like Christmas, then it might be a bit of a problem. But otherwise, a few days is fine. And yeah, we do need them to be scheduled in advance, and I think that's usually the case, especially for luxury transfers. I don't think there's at least not that I can think of services that do it on the
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, there's none that come to mind for me either. It's not like there's like a kiosk at the airport that has like luxury transport and you could just kind of walk up. The only thing, and this might not fit into what you consider luxury transport, I know Uber has several classes of transport and they have like kind of an, I don't know if it's called XL or something. They have like a kind of a more luxurious Uber that's kind of less basic, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for. Every luxury transport kind of chauffeur type of service, limo, anything kind of along those lines, they all require to know in advance because they want to track your flight because they want to make sure that in case you're delayed that they're there. They're going to have somebody holding a sign. It's all very personalized and customized, so that does require advanced booking. All right, well, that wraps us up because we hit our time, but like I said, we will answer the rest of these questions offline. And thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you a very buon viaggio in Rome.
Thank you, everyone. Buon viaggio.